nobody likes to be unemployed. At least most people don't.
Mm. Mm.
Trying to make ends meet after often sitting in the cold houses or rooms, or even roaming the streets,
Yeah.
is enough to suck the sap out of anybody who tries to revert the situation,
Mm.
but many times doesn't know how. And so they stay in this vicious circle of trying to defend their meagre existence from the bureaucratic state, which seems to make them jump through more hoops to get their hands on the less than minimum amount that is needed to survive. I know I was once there when I was 18 years of age, 6 months I spent unemployed,
Yeah.
and I was more resilient.
Yeah.
Uh, but my dilemma, like I said, only lasted a few months, and I was soon back at work, if for nothing more than to protect my bones from the extreme low temperatures of a harsh English winter that it would bring, you know. I'd prefer to be at work in the warmth
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
than not.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember how much I was allowed, how much my dole money was. I really can't remember. But I know it wasn't nearly enough to allow me to eat every day.
Mm.
Sometimes I missed eating for a day to to make ends meet. Uh, which is probably why I was a skinny little runt when I was younger. At least
Y-
during 6 months of my life, I was.
Yeah. You don't have to make up for it now. You know that. Yeah.
No, no, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't enough to eat every day. Harsh times,
Yeah.
thankfully behind me,
Mm.
but always there to remind me to be grateful for what I have now
Mm.
and to empathize with the people who find themselves in the same situation I was in all those many years ago.
Yeah.
In the old days, things apparently were a little better, it might be said, financially for the people who were unemployed.
Yeah.
So, for example, in 1972, I was 11 years old. Dole money, the amount given to you from the public purse, was around 20% of the average wage in the UK. So the average wage back in 72 was around £36.60. And the benefit came in at £7.35. And now £36.60 for the average wage was okay back then, as an average house costs only £4,000.
Mm.
So it was easy to get a mortgage, of course.
Yeah.
In 1972, also to help out with heating costs, an additional £10 was paid to you in the first week of December
Mm.
each year. But of course, times change, and what with inflation, of course, we have to do the numbers. In September past, following the inflation numbers, an average wage rose to £414 last September. This is according to the Bank of England calculator, which I crunched the numbers.
Yeah.
Unusual for me. So, with inflation, well, what was £36.60p uh, turned out to be £414 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Likewise, what would have been called dole money, it's changed its identity. It's come to, I don't know, universal credit and all these sort of
Yeah. Yeah. Fancy
different
names.
names
Yeah.
that stick on these things. Um, and had the value of £7.35, likewise rose to £80.55
Mm.
with inflation.
Yeah.
But now, in September, only 18% of the average wage, if both rose with inflation.
Right. Okay.
And that £10 heating allowance, it's still £10. Uh, Taking inflation into account, it would be worth £115 today, but it just remained £10. So you're not going to be breaking any banks
No.
when you receive it. But let's look at the actual numbers today, or the day before yesterday when I did all this.
Well, okay. Yeah, good change. Yeah.
But today, um, it worked out that the average weekly wage is £728, right? Well above the inflation rate we mentioned earlier. Now, I don't know if it's because to work out your average weekly wage, there are more people, more millionaires in this world, who are more directors and CEOs of companies that get these huge pay increases, salary increases, and they take that into account to work out the average. The
Yeah.
average. I don't know, but with all intents and purposes, it's £728. And the dole, what was called the dole at the time,
Mhm.
um, if you're over 25 years old, you get £90.
Yeah.
And if you're under 25 years old, you get £71.
Yeah.
So basically, it's sort of middling along, because if it
Mm.
was £80 keeping
Yeah.
up with inflation, you get a
Yeah.
bit touch more, the £10 more, or
Yeah.
£10 less, depending on your age. Is the dole keeping up with the average wage? Well, tighten your belts, because it makes up just 12% of the value of your new average wage. It's 72, it was 20%. Uh, and now it's only 12%. So in wages terms, the dollar's lost 8% of its value since 72. Right. The £10 heating bonus, like I said, still
Yeah.
stands.
Yeah.
But you have to meet stricter criteria and jump through more hoops, which I think is one, it's going to keep you warm in the winter with all the hoop jumping, with all the
Yeah.
things you have to do to get your hands on it.
Yes.
Um, Now this is just on the dole. This is on what I would call the unemployment benefit, I suppose, back
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
right the dole. And I asked myself if housing benefit was included in all this package that you got from the government, you know. And lo and behold, in 1972, they started implementing the rate rebate,
Yeah.
and the council, if you had a council house, you used to get a rate rebate from the council.
Yeah.
And that helped in your rent. I don't know if it was 100%.
No. Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't find the information for that. But back in the day, it was called a rate rebate, and
Yeah.
then it was called housing benefit, and as time went on, I think it's called universal credit these days,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is that
That's what it
everything
is.
is sort of lumped together,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so just to complicate your life, and just a touch more,
Yes. Cool.
so you don't know where you stand.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So there you are. In terms of average wages, of course it's going to pay to get a job,
Mm.
get a job.
Well,
All right,
okay.
mate.
Yeah.
Because you'll be, your wages have gone up above.
Mm.
Well, at least we know that the doctors and the train drivers, their wages have gone up well above.
Yeah.
But
Well, okay. Yeah. There's
I
a
should have
bit
done
more.
this. I should have done this calculation before those pay rises were implemented
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
to see if there's a difference.
I can give you a little bit more behind that, but yeah. Yes.
But if you're on the dole, if you're unemployed, basically it's the same. It's the less than bare minimum,
Yeah.
uh, which have kept up more or less kept up with inflation anyway.
Yeah.
So there you are.
Right. Yeah.
Some things never change.
Yeah. Like you, I've been unemployed. Um, worked whatever I could to get myself out of the unemployment status. Um, yeah, made a few decisions in my career that probably couldn't, and now, yeah, doing what I do now. Um, it's yeah, I mean, society should look after those who do fall off, who no fault their own sometimes, even fault their own, yeah, where they are, mate, and yeah, and help people get back in. Now, this for me is, I always say, opportunity. Yeah, give you the money, give you the opportunity to maybe find something or help, which is always there. I mean, I went to the Dole office a few years ago when I was back in the UK. Um, I actually got criticised for not going there sooner because I was working hard and finding a job to avoid it. I got told off for that, rightly so as well, because it could hide the figures then. But I showed him what I was doing. I had proof that I'm writing off for jobs. I'm trying everything. He said, "Carry on what you're doing." Yeah. I saw the person in front of me without saying too much. He was really rocketing into the sky for not doing anything, sitting at home, as you say, trying to grab it. And he looked at my CV and he said, "Well, we haven't got anything really that would be suitable for you." I said, "Well, a job's suitable for me. Any job's suitable for me, right?" He said, "Yeah, but you're not going to stay, are you?" I said, "No, yeah, maybe I'll get something else, or I'm going to come back to Brazil." Well, yeah, there's stories behind that. But it's a, um, yeah, the money wasn't coming to Brazil. I was using it to survive there. It is a, yeah, you don't get much. You should only get, yeah, basically the mistake I made was have a full bank account. Yeah, I should have hidden the money in essence. Yeah, um, annoying. Yeah, yeah, because they look into everything. Like you said, means testing. Yeah. So if you play the system honestly and everything else, you don't get anything. The people that manage to work the system, and it's almost like their full-time job to work the system. Yeah. Which again is another extreme of the spectrum. Unfortunately, governments don't seem happy to go after these people because I think they normally vote one particular way, if you understand what I'm saying here. Yeah.
I think also it was more expensive, if I remember rightly. It was more expensive to go after them than what it was the money
Yeah.
they
Yeah, they did it.
received.
Yeah. That's a big operation. Yeah.
So when you were in a depressed area
Mm,
where unemployment was a lot higher than the national average,
yeah.
the tendency was to just let the people rot.
Yeah.
No, it's just cheaper to do that.
Mm. Um,
You,
I mean, what's happening at the moment in the UK is downright disgraceful. Um,
no idea. I
no,
have no idea.
I do. I know
Related to this, I've no idea.
I know people involved in it, honest people who are getting hammered by it. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't have to worry about heating bills or anything else in Brazil. Our biggest problem is keeping cool. Um,
I was going to say, I just hope I can pay the electricity bill for the fans.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I turn the fans off around the house. Yeah, I don't turn the electricity. I turn the fans off. I'm the only non-Brazilian in the house, effectively, really. Yeah, and I'm the one that turns the fans off because I don't need them. I don't live
Yeah.
in Brazil to freeze myself. Yeah, I don't like air conditioning units and things like that. I hate air conditioning. Yeah, I feel it makes me
Very,
feel ill.
very
Um,
expensive to run. Very expensive.
uh, yeah, people don't use it right. They put it down to about 12 or 15 degrees. 26 should be the absolute minimum you put it on. Um, it's a, um,
The only time you should put your air conditioning on is when you're in a hotel.
oh yeah, you paid for it. You might as well enjoy it. Yeah. Um, yeah. It's, at least it works as well normally, but yeah, not I stay in many hotels. Um, yeah, I, I mean, I'm looking at the world at the moment. Yeah, it's the way things are worked. We all know the best way to actually get anything off the government, the best way to do it now involves going to Calais, jumping in a rubber dinghy. It really does. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Um, yeah. It's how much you benefit people and induce them to get back into working is always going to be a difficult thing for governments. Yeah. We're all saying if I do this and do that. Yeah, giving people, as I said, opportunities, retraining people. If there's a skill shortage, why import labor when you can retrain people? Yeah. Maybe make it attractive for people to do cleaning jobs and things. I've done cleaning jobs when I've needed to. Yeah. And yeah, yeah. I consider myself.
Saturday. It's on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I used to do. I used to have 3 jobs at the same time.
Yeah.
Computer center that I told you about.
Yeah.
The dishwasher on the Saturday, and the night shift manager at the same hotel where I was a dishwasher.
Yeah.
On the Saturday.
Well, yeah, industrious. Yeah.
Hilton International in Watford.
Yeah.
There you go.
I know Watford. I know Watford. Yes, I lived there for a time. Yeah, I've seen it followed you about. I've lived in York. I've lived in Watford. Yeah. Just before I met you here. But it's a
You follow me here. Stop it. Stop it.
I'm stalking you without realizing it. But yeah, always a few years. But yeah, it's a yeah, how much do you help people in society? Now I'm not a great socialist, but I believe in healthcare, I believe in education, adequate healthcare, adequate state education, which is important. Assisting people to get themselves back into a self-sufficient situation. The idea of a health system is care is that they don't have to worry about the costs should they fall ill. Education, if they have kids and everything else, children, they should be educated. If you need retraining, I honestly believe, yeah, I've seen some good initiatives in the UK that don't get taken up. Also on internet now, I've gone on Open Learn. There's a thing, a substitute of Open University called Open Learn. 3 courses on it. Yeah, that you get a certificate of participation. Doesn't mean a lot, but you can say to a future employer, well, I've tried to understand what this is, and gives you something to talk about in an interview. Yeah, this is what people forget, acquiring knowledge, doing it. Yeah, I know people do full-time work, literally working for, seeing how they can how they can get more money out of the government. That's their job. They're always looking. Yeah, well, I mean, we've had comedies in the UK about that as well. People do get caught in the poverty trap. There are some people that found that it was better to stay unemployed than it was to get a job, and I can understand them being there. Yeah, forget pride and anything else, prestige and pride. You need money to survive.
When I lived in the house, shared the house,
Yeah.
Most of my neighbours were unemployed, and they used to, if they could only put their minds to thinking about how to become employed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of having to think about how they can survive and earn extra money on the side.
Yeah.
The country would be different. I'm more of a Norman Tebbit sort of.
Get on your bike. Yeah.
On your bike.
Yeah.
I did a bit of a scan, a bit of a look around.
Yeah.
Going back about 10 years, I suppose. And it's amazing in the south of the UK how much shop work there is available. Yeah. Shops are crying out for assistants and for shelf stackers and things like that. Well, I mean, if you're from Rotherham, and you've been on the dole for like 5 years, I'd chance my arm and go to the south and get a job as a chef. You're not gonna live a life of luxury.
Well, yeah, it's shelf stackers. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most exciting job, and it's not the most glamorous. Shelf stacker at night. Yeah.
But you're on your first step of the greasy pole.
That's what I mean. I mean, sometimes, you always look around. I've done different things in engineering, done different things, moved into things, using your intelligence, experience all the time. Yeah. There's nothing I won't tackle. I've obviously rebranded or retrained myself to do a different job now that I never thought I could do. And I had a compliment this morning, a client who felt there was in a safe space me doing it. So I consider that a compliment. I don't know. Don't know if it makes me a liberal now or what, but yeah, hey man, a compliment's a compliment. Yeah, somebody feels happy. Um, so yeah, I'm afraid I'm with you on this, Steve. Yeah, yeah, we've all there's got to be an inducement to get out there and work. Yeah, we can't let people starve. Um, but we can't have children climbing up chimneys anymore and all that to help the family. We know that happens here as well in Brazil, where you get kids
Well,
working
we
and
could, we could, we could. But I mean, there just aren't that many chimneys around anymore.
well, yeah, I know. I do actually in Warwickshire. Anyone that knows the Townsend chimney sweep family or the original company, it was actually my relatives that my ancestors that actually owned that. I come
I
from
bet,
chimney sweeps.
I bet Japed Rees-Mogg, he's got a couple of little kids to shin up his chimney to clean it out once a year.
The honourable member for the 18th century. Yeah, I like
Sooty,
Jacob. Yeah,
Sooty and Sweep,
yeah. Yeah.
Sooty and the Sweep.
Yeah, I like Jacob actually. He amuses me. Yeah, um, yeah, he plays on that as well. But yeah, how do we resolve the problem? Yeah, we don't need so much legal or illegal immigration when we've got a plenty of our workforce on the ground that just need a persuasion to maybe go out and better themselves. Yeah. Um,
Well, like I said, immigration, if you're an immigrant, you can only earn 80% of the going rate of a British citizen. Uh, yeah, yeah.
I know, I know, I know, I know.
That's what the legislation says.
Yeah.
And these illegal immigrants, if your claim for asylum is taking too long, you're allowed to work and get this 80%. And so for companies,
Yeah.
that's a gold mine.
Exactly. So what that 80% then becomes 100%. Yeah, if you understand what I'm saying there. Yeah, it's who decides what the 100% is.
Well, what the going rate is, what the union rate is.
Yeah, we don't have union rate. Well, last time I was UK, we didn't. Yeah, I mean the company. Yeah, I mean depends where you work, but average. I mean, I look online average salaries and everything else, but you look at an average salary, and I've done this quite recently, and then you look at how much rent costs, how much food costs, and everything else. You've barely got your pint of beer at the end of the week, to be quite honest, in some cases. Yeah,
Well, this research I've just done,
yeah,
you, if you're working, you've never been better off.
yeah. But
If you're
uh
on the dole, if you're on the dole, you're in the same shit that you were in
but
1972.
but did you bring in how much rent is, how much food is, how much anything else is?
Inflation, inflation.
Yeah, I know people that are trying to live the dream and it's not working. The working
Well,
dream.
it,
Yeah.
it may it might just be that perhaps they're wanting a little bit too much. Perhaps they've got the rent, but what they're furnishing the house,
No, no,
what
no.
they're
It's all done. No,
eating out far too many times. Because
no.
according to the stats here, the keeping up with inflation since 72 should be £414. It's
Yeah,
720,
yeah.
728.
Yeah. There's too
So
many. I am disagreeing with you there, Steve. I know people in the UK that are struggling quite badly, and decent people, moderate people, who appreciate the moderate lifestyle. Yeah. Uh,
granted, in 1972, not everybody had a car.
well,
These days, everybody needs to have a car. Well, wants to have a car.
yeah.
Everybody in 72 had a holiday every year. But these days, people, they get holidays every 6 months.
But,
People in 1970, well, yes, I'm afraid so. In
well,
1972, when you had a house,
mm,
you rented a house like from the council, for example, it was a very basic house. These days, it's double glazed, triple glazed, and you've got all your mod cons, Chesterfield suite,
yeah,
you know,
I
and
know.
that has become the norm because our living standards have actually been raised. And not everybody in 72, you didn't have your iPhone, you didn't have your plasma TV,
Well, I
you didn't
agreed.
have your Netflix, you didn't have your whatever it was. You had you had two channels on the telly,
Yeah,
and your BBC One. an ITV, and if you were really posh, you'd have a BBC Two.
Actually, I mean, I'm just sort of thinking. We'll take it a step further. I actually, some of my relatives that did also used to be the managers of workhouses. Would that be maybe we could be onto something there?
My,
I do.
my
Yeah,
mum after the war, when she was about 16,
yeah.
17, I think it was, perhaps 18, she used to have to go to a workhouse
Mm,
because she didn't have anywhere to live, and she had to
yeah,
make ends meet.
yeah. I'm I'm sort of disagreeing with you a bit there, Steve. I know people that are struggling in the UK seriously, um, and I don't. There is a balance. Um, the way that the authority, I don't care if what government they're in at the moment, they don't seem to be getting a grip of it all. Um, Energy prices. I look at energy prices now. Really, the UK is self-sufficient with energy. There's a there's a there's actually somebody's actually compiled a real-time energy production uh, thing online. Yeah, I'll actually try and include that in the description on this video, just out of interest.
Right?
So it's the UK self-sufficient, yet we're paying some very high prices for energy, which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, and I don't care what government's excuses governments give. This government is always looking, or the present government is always looking for more and more ways to fleece, fleece money out of people, give her for one hand, take her for the other. Yeah. Um, yeah, and also, yeah, to say, oh, people are going to, yeah, there's a big black hole in the economy. We'll stop paying for people to live who just arriving to live in hotels. Send them to Rwanda, and we all know that's not working. But you know what I'm sort of saying, yeah. Um, if other countries can do it, why can't we? Why can't the UK? Yeah, I mean,
My
I'm,
philosophy, my philosophy is a little bit different because I've lived when I've had,
yeah.
like I said, sharing a house, and
Well, I've
I've
lived
even
like that. Yeah, yeah,
I've even lived had to divide a cellar
mm,
with a girl,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and I I know what it's like not to have
yeah,
things, right? And so I would say to the people watching this, if you have a comfortable uh, living space,
mm,
you don't need half of the stuff that you've got. Here where I live now, it's
yeah,
quite basic. Because I've never had the need to have a Rolex. Well, a false Rolex I've had,
yeah.
but not a real one.
Mm, funny
And
memories.
I've
Yeah,
never had the need to have my car is 20 years old
yeah.
that I drive because it serves me. I've
Mm.
never had the need to have a new car.
I
I've never
thought,
had this urge,
mm, yeah,
to show the neighbours what I haven't got.
yeah,
As long as my fridge and my freezer's full,
yeah.
that's all I need. The rest is just superfluous.
Okay. Well, yes. Well, if you're happy, but yeah, I do disagree with you a bit
You're
on.
happy, clap your hands.